And our first presentation this morning is a proclamation to designate June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth. We'll also be recognizing the winners of the Juneteenth Resiliency Award, and this was requested by myself, and I understand that Emma Marshall, a longtime community member and retired county employee involved in the selection committee for the awards, is here with us today. And if you could come on down, and anyone else who you would like to join you. And at this time, I am going to turn the gavel to Supervisor Gross so that I may read the proclamation. Whereas the Emancipation Proclamation signed by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1, 1863, declared persons held as slaves in Confederate territory free and led to the ratification of the 13th Amendment on December 6, 1865, which abolished slavery in the United States. And whereas word of the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation did not reach authorities and African Americans in the South and Southwestern United States for nearly 2.5 more years until June 19, 1865, and whereas June 19th, Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilation Day, and Liberation Day, has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And whereas while we celebrate this date, we know there is much work to be done to eradicate the systemic racism that results in exclusion, discriminatory treatment, inequitable policies, and disadvantages for people of color. And whereas through One Fairfax, our county and our community are committed to promoting fairness and justice in the formation of public policy that results in equity for all residents, now therefore be it resolved that the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, on behalf of all residents of Fairfax County, does hereby proclaim June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth and urges all residents to celebrate this day to honor the tremendous contributions African Americans have made to our country and to our county, and to reflect on equity and lifting up our entire community.
You've heard the motion, seconded by Supervisor Lusk. Is there discussion?
Very briefly, Madam Chair, I think this is, obviously one of the most important proclamations that we do at this board. I can remember coming forward with a board matter to designate Juneteenth as a holiday in Fairfax County, one of the first jurisdictions in the country to do that. And it's an important thing to do, not just for those of us who inherently knew what it meant, but most importantly for people in our community that had no idea what it meant, especially our young people, to reflect back on what our country has been through, some difficult, trying times, some unjust, terrible history that we need to remind ourselves of so that we can always do better. I know there's a lot of conversation in the community about history and whether we should erase history. And, for me, it's not about erasing history. It's about making sure people understand our history and context so that we all can take our policy positions as a community, can get involved and engaged in our community to make sure that those things never happen again, but more importantly, to make sure the generations of people who have been affected by it and held back by past policies. And as this proclamation says, we have a lot of work to do. And as a co-author of our One Fairfax resolution, I can tell you that it's making a difference in Fairfax County, because it's not just something on paper. It's something that's truly in the bloodlines of the county and in our community. And there's an intentional look. Intentional is the most important part of that, an intentional look at every policy we make to make sure that we are making fair, equitable policies, as this says, to lift up all people in our community. And as we celebrate Juneteenth together, it's both an opportunity to reflect on our past, but also to reinvigorate ourselves in fighting for justice and equity as we move forward, and to remind our young people that there are things today that are certainly much better than previous generations, but that our young people also have a role to play in helping make us better as a county and as a country. And so it's an important proclamation this morning. I'm proud to sponsor it and look forward to its support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Other discussion? Supervisor Lusk.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chairman. I'll start by saying thank you to the Chairman for bringing this forward. This is the third year now that I've had the honor of celebrating Juneteenth as a member of this Board of Supervisors. The first year that I had this opportunity, I talked about what it meant to be the first African-American male elected to this Board of Supervisors and the only African-American that currently serves on this board. Last year, I reflected on the concept of perseverance and trying to imagine what it must have felt like to suffer the injustice those last Americans had as they were held in bondage, and how in many ways their struggle still echoes in our community today. This year, with the short minute that I have to share with you, I feel compelled to ask all of us to join me in reflecting on another tenet of Juneteenth, and that is intervention. In the same way that our federal government intervened in Texas to stamp out those last remnants of slavery, at every level of government in our country, there persist problems directly tied to our history of slavery that require our intervention in the same way. Those shifting and lingering imbalances of redlining, to finally unraveling the root causes for the disproportionate use of force against our neighbors of color, to opening doors of opportunity in our workforce that our unemployed African-American neighbors can earn a living wage at one single job. And perhaps the closest of all to all of our hearts at this moment, to leaving no stone unturned as we search for solutions to end gun violence in our community. As a county government, we have a duty to intervene, and through our intervention, maybe even end just one of these lingering echoes of slavery, so that one day we can celebrate the closing of that chapter in the same way that we celebrate Juneteenth today. So that's what I'll leave you with, the challenge to search out a pathway to intervene to end with something worth celebrating. Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Lusk. Additional discussion? I don't think there's anything more to be said after those eloquent words. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries by a vote of 8 of the members of the board dais right now. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairman Gross. And at this time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Emma Marshall. And before I do that, let me thank you not only for being here today. I know you're going to share with us some information about the award winners, but I also want to thank you for your outstanding career in public service working for the county. You are appreciated. And with that, the microphone is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, distinguished members of the Board of Supervisors, county executive, clerks and attorneys, and division and department heads here in Fairfax. I am so honored to work with the Black History Committee, which then turned into Juneteenth Committee, and my wonderful friend, I'm not quite sure if he's here or not, Solomon Meltson said, let's do a Resiliency Award for the children. And we said, okay, that's something different than us dancing and parading and singing and stuff. Let's do something for the children. So we decided we would do exactly that and sent out information. And we have some stunning, magnificent young folk. And as you know, I worked with young folk all my life, and I am always excited when people ask me to come back and work with young folk. Old folk, not so much, but young folk, yes! So please forgive me. But so I want to thank all the nominators. I spoke to some earlier, the teachers, the families, the friends, and all those folk who we don't see and don't know, who are behind these wonderful young folk and help push them and guide them. And I do think Fairfax County was always leading. We always help lead a lot of good things, so I'm glad about that. But we always need to continue. As I told the young folks, keep moving, don't stop. We're moving, so let's keep it moving. Chairman, you also reminded me of a wonderful proverb, which I won't go into because you know I can sit here for a while and talk like Tilly. That Sankofa bird that looks back over its shoulder and picks the egg up. It's an old proverb, African proverb from Ghana, who turns around, looks back, picks his egg up, and says, the meaning is that you can't know where you're going unless you know where you come from. And so that's the history of all of us, is everyone's history. Everyone's history is everyone's history, because we intersect with each other constantly. So I remember that, and I thank that, and I thank these young folks who are so talented and bright and obviously very resilient. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to speak too much longer, and I'll get into their names. I will say the ones that are here. We have 6 young folk. We have 12 altogether. And I hope these young folk remember this as they go on. Many of them are going to college. Many of them are going right back into regular high school. Mm-hmm. But just remember, your community does love you. All this confusion and different people saying different things, we love you. And we need to love them, not with verbiage, but actually love them as you love your own children, and do for them and make sure that they're well taken care of, Yeah. So without further ado, I will announce everyone's name. I'm so proud of them. And when I announce your name, just keep your hand up so that the board can see who you are. Zach Kumar. Zena Abden. Oh, and I just want other Claire, please, if I make a mistake on anybody's name, please forgive me, because I know names mean a lot to folk. Their parents give them a name for a reason, not just so we can botch it. So please forgive me if I do anything. Vera Kwabi. Riley Williams. Aaliyah Golden. Nadia Khalif. Now, these are the young folk present. Now I will name those who are not present so that they can have their names on the TV. Kofi Asiama Ahenkora. Ty Wilson. Ambria Redfern. Jasmine Hampton. Brian Hampton, Joshua Hampton. And we are so proud of these young folk, because these young folk are about it. Excuse me for getting a little, language here. But they're not just talking. They're out doing. They're with their kids in school. They pulled themselves up. They've done things to help make their lives and the people around them lives better. And so I look forward to some of them sitting up here on the board one of these days. Right. And I thank them all. And I again thank all their wonderful nominees and all the wonderful people that are here for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Emma, and also want to thank the parents who are here today of some of these young people, as you said, I know played an instrumental role in their success. And, it is graduation season, and I can tell you, like I know a lot of my colleagues could, that when we go to graduations throughout Fairfax County and see our young people and what they have achieved already, it is remarkable, and it really puts wind in all of our sails to see what our young people are able to do, and more importantly to me is the tremendous rich diversity that we have in our school system and our county. As such a blessing. The things we can learn from each other, from history, from cultural differences, enriches all of us, and you can really see it in our young people and their passion. And so congratulations to the award winners today. As you said, these are not the talkers, these are the doers who have the grit and the determination and deserve Resiliency Award for the work that they've done. We're so proud of all of you. And with that, I think we're ready for a photo. So if you all could come forward, Supervisor Lusk, if you could join me.
Sure.
If you all could come forward and face the audience, we will pose for a picture.